So first on our agenda, we'll have Tim Bounds.
Good morning, everyone. Password. So we are going to talk about computing security. And I expect you thought someone else would be up here. Sorry, we don't know this guy anymore. So we'll begin with the usual password speech, since that's where the strongest defense for security, but also the weakest link if it's done wrong. So you've heard this before. Don't share your password. Don't let someone else use your account after you've logged into it. And that also means when you leave a computer, leave the room, you should log out. Don't leave the computer unattended with your account logged in. And have a strong password. And don't share that either. So these are good passwords. See, they're the mixed numbers, uppercase, lowercase, special characters, all kinds of good stuff. And a happy shark. Bad passwords. Very short, simple, easy to guess, and very easy for computers to crack through automated processes. So I want to talk a few minutes about phishing. And there's been a lot of that over the past year or so, and it's sometimes confusing on what's phishing and what's not. So I'm going to look a little bit at it and show a couple of examples to help you guys identify possible phishing attempts. So, and these are all real examples taken from the Duke IT Security website. Look at this email that you may get. There's a couple of clues in here that might let you know that it's a phishing attempt. And you guys sitting in the very back, you can't see this, so sorry, there's plenty of seats down here if you want to move up. So the user, it's from Duke University, but if you look at the actual email address, it's from insightbb.com, so that doesn't quite match. And if you look at the link, it's got webmail Duke edu in there, but if you look at the actual server it's going to webs.com, so that's probably not a real Duke address. So if you clicked on that link, you'd go here. And they've taken steps to steal the Duke logo and put it on their web page. But if you look at the very top at the address bar, you can see it's webs.com, so that's probably not a good place to be putting your password in. This one, you may recognize this. That's the Outlook web app, and a lot of you use that for your email and calendar. But if you look at the address bar again, you can see that's going to webinfomall.com. Even though they've added webmail.duke.edu in the address to try to fool you a bit. So they try to be very tricky, so just look for those kind of clues. Another example, this one is pretending to be from Amazon. A lot of you have an account at Amazon, so they're going to scare you, let you know that your account has been accessed from an unusual place. And this one looks pretty realistic. Because the address is from Amazon, it's no reply at amazon.com, and the link text even points to amazon.com. But there's a trick you can, in your email app, whatever you're using, Mail or Outlook, if you hover your cursor over the link, you get the little pop-up and it shows you the actual URL you will go to. And so that's going to considerlocal.co.uk. That's not Amazon. So, and here's the page, and it looks just like your Amazon login. But again, look at the top, and you can see that it's not Amazon.com. So, to wrap up with phishing, remember to look at the to and from addresses. They should kind of make sense with the text of the email. Look for vague phrases in the email, like dear user, and not your actual name. Verify the link address. You can hover your cursor over the link, see where it's going. And to always be safest, if you're not quite sure, you can contact the ITS office and ask them. And then you can always, if you do feel like you need to change your password, don't click on the link, just go to your web browser and type in amazon.com, and then you know for sure you're at Amazon, and you can change your password from there. So, How many of you are using the same password everywhere you go? Probably a lot of you. So when you look at having a strong password and you look at phishing and you put them together, if one of your passwords gets compromised, even if it is a strong one, you've fallen for a phishing attempt, you've entered your password in somewhere, well, if you're using the same password everywhere, then someone has access to all of your accounts. And that doesn't sound very good. Some of them might be your banking account information, or at Amazon where your credit card's stored, or it could be Duke account information where you may have access to sensitive student data. So I want to real quickly talk about a couple of new things on how to protect yourself online. One is multi-factor authentication. This might be new for a few people, but as security experts have seen over the past few years, even strong passwords aren't the greatest way to protect yourself. So a password alone in a few years from now won't be all you need. So multi-factor is your username and password, which you already have, plus another token. It might be a USB key that you plug into your computer. You might get a text message to your phone with a code that you type in, or you can have an app on your phone that generates a code. And those codes will change every time. They're like every 60 seconds a new code will be generated, so that you have something on you that goes along with your username and password. And Duke is actually piloting multi-factor on campus. A lot of the IT office are using this already, and it will soon be mandatory for all IT staff on campus. And you're probably asking how you're supposed to remember all those complicated passwords I showed you earlier. Well, there are password management applications that actually Duke is looking at LastPass as a possibility to site license across campus. And these keep your passwords in an encrypted database that you have one master password to, and you can log into that and access all of your complicated passwords. So hopefully before long, that'll be available for everyone, I hope. Now that I say that, it never will, but you know how it goes. And copyright. You have to mention this every year. Please don't download movies, music, software without paying for them through legitimate sites that are legally offering them. So all these organizations up here with fancy names, they really like to target universities because they know there's a lot of student population who like to download movies and musics. So the university networks are targeted. So please be very careful. Let students know to be very careful. Just don't do it. It's bad. There's a lot more information on this on the Dean of Students website. There's an RIAA file sharing section on that if you want to look for more information. And to wrap up, a few things you should remember from today, very important. Anybody know what they are? Don't share your password. Keep your password secure. Learn to recognize phishing. And again, if you're not sure if the email is legitimate or not, contact the ITS office, and we can be in contact with the Duke IT security office. So just always be cautious with that. And finally, stay away from the downloading. Keep the RIAA and the MPA, keep them where they belong. That is the end. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Feels like church. Everybody's in the back. Anyway, for those of you who haven't heard, this year is 50 years of Black undergraduate presence at Duke University. And celebrating the past, charting the future, commemorating 50 years of Black students at Duke. We're going to see a video this morning that was made in order to provide histories, stories about the students who were first here. You'll be introduced to 3 of the first 5 students who came to Duke in 1963. You're also going to be introduced to Ida B. Owens, who is a scientist at NIH. She was the first PhD student to be admitted here in 1962. And I don't think they actually say that in the video, which is why I want to make sure that I tell you that. You will also see our very own Alma Jones, because Alma was the first African American student to graduate from Duke with a degree in music. So the way this video was made is we brought together lots of different people from those early years, faculty as well as students, and did 45-minute interviews. So you're seeing snippets of about 10 to 12 45-minute interviews. I want to give a shout out to Scott Wells and his team who did all the work, and it's great. If you ever want to see the videos and the separate tapings, they're in the archives. There's a lot of rich information. And so with that, we will now have our video.
To any present member of this community, it's almost inconceivable that Duke ever could have maintained a policy of racial exclusion. But racial discrimination was once the official practice of this school, as it was of the surrounding region and de facto much of this land. The history of racial exclusion is the history Duke set out to reverse with the admission of the first African American undergraduates.
I had gone to the March on Washington. So when I came to campus, it was kind of hitting the reality of what this was without knowing much about it.
A part of it was the sense that this was an obligation, that we were opening the doors. This was my part of the civil rights movement.
We had no earthly idea of what our role or work might amount to.
It was time for a generation to go.
I would never have ever applied to come here. As far as I knew, it was still
segregated.
Yes.
Yeah.
My father had graduated from Hampton. I thought I was going to be a Hampton pirate. And yet, there was this experiment.
The sentiment was overwhelmingly in favor of integration. But it was a little pious, and the feeling was that you let a few students in, that's it.
You had to have an attitude. And interestingly, most of us came with an attitude. And why is that? Because we were class presidents. We were valedictorians. I was a wide-eyed kid who was fascinated when I looked up at the chapel the first time and saw the spires and said, well, what in the world am I into? And I didn't see Buddy at the time.
Because he wasn't here.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't here.
And so, as far as I knew, I was it.
My grandmother brought me because my mother had just had twins the week before. And I'd always assumed my mother would take me to college. That did not happen. My grandmother did. She says, I've talked to the women in the dorm, and they will take care of you.
Duke at that time was really a Southern institution.
I was from Durham. Duke was like another whole town away from the town that I had grown up in.
It was a real culture shock.
I was not a fan of Dixie. Dixie was a hallmark of Duke University at its athletic events. And what we began was a process of not standing and shouting, because that was totally out. And it sort of spread through the students, particularly the northern students, because they weren't so attached to that symbol. And you know, the Confederate flag was not your favorite symbol. And we had the KAs right on the quad with us, who basically harassed people as you would walk through the quad on the way to the basketball games.
I don't think any of us thought that the reaction to us coming was going to be as fierce and as deeply antagonistic as it was.
And things were so interesting that I used to keep a bus ticket taped to the bottom drawer of my bureau in the room because I was prepared to leave.
I think when we came, the expectation was you couldn't do it. And so
May well
people
have
were
been.
surprised when you could.
Our experience was much different than the students who came after us,
Even
in
a
a
year
sense,
after.
because we had, there wasn't that nucleus of students to start creating a real community of African American students.
We had a very intense and intimate engagement with the Black Durham community.
The only other things that we had to hold on to were the people who worked.
Wow.
And they were so happy to see us. The smiles on the faces of the people who worked in the cafeteria or who maintained the dormitories, the women who worked as receptionists and would sit and talk to us, those were the go-to people for us.
For me, there was some loneliness, but there was also a tremendous opportunity for leadership and for engagement. And I think it made a difference that we had coordinate colleges, that there was a women's college rather than a co-ed situation when I came in.
The focus was on the lab, getting home and back to the lab, and not having this old ragtag car I was driving at the time break down. That was my only concern.
When you're a music major, a lot of your time is spent in the practice room. And so there were many things I could say I did not attend. I could say I was not as social as some of my peers.
We would sit around and just listen to albums, to the big albums, I guess there would have been the 33s. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X.
We can make the American dream a reality. Everybody must work, students must work, faculty members must work, Negroes must work, white people must work. Everybody must get involved in this struggle to get rid of a system that can destroy and is destroying the soul of our nation.
We did not understand why Duke would allow sororities and fraternities to use, at that time, Hope Valley Country Club, which had an openly segregationist membership policy. Yes. And so we went to try to talk to President Knight, and he wouldn't talk to us, so we took out books and sat there until he did. We were invisible until we sat down.
There's this extraordinary experience in '68 after Dr. King's assassination, when we have 2,500 students occupying the quadrangle for 4 days and nights in what was called the Vigil. That was a transformative moment at Duke, and made possible, I think, a degree of activism that probably had not been here before.
So we started talking with the administration about these things, who listened. To their credit, they listened, but we didn't go anywhere. And so we decided that we would take over the building. We would do it early in the morning. We ran out of the truck, asked the 3 ladies who were in that Allen building to please leave, and that they had our permission to go and call the police. And then we sat. We had some peanut butter and jelly. So finally, into the early afternoon, Ben came to us. Ben Ruffin came and he said, they've acquiesced. They're going to give you what you ask. And for us, you talk about an empowering moment. Yeah. It was. We were different people when we walked out of that building.
For us, we grew up in a time when African American, when we were black,
Yes.
our teachers cared about it. Well,
right after Negro.
Right after that, okay.
but there were people who believed in us and pushed us and said we could do.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the kind
Absolutely.
of I think that's what took us through Duke. I think that's took you beyond Duke into where you are.
Exactly. Exactly.
You came to Duke with a very strong sense of yourself.
Yeah.
And a very, like, this
Yeah.
is what I want to
Exactly.
do. And this is what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to
That
pay
is
attention
exactly
to
right.
all
That
of
is-
these
that-
peripheral things.
I think that says it.
I think those days showed how a university could be responsive to a level of moral concern which hadn't been visible ever before.
Essentially what happened by our efforts and our presence and our efforts is that in effect Duke was opened up from being a good regional institution to a world-class university.
I think we are at a position in the long evolution of the African American Studies program where we can claim some real accomplishment and distinction nationally.
Duke is I think a much better place. Some people look back and say, oh, there's this and that, but Duke is a much better institution now than it was back then, and it was a good institution then.
I've told a number of different presidents that Duke is a really, really good school. It's not great yet. And it will not be great until the measure of the same is parsed out to everybody. And we're getting there, but we're not there yet. Yeah.
50 years ago, Duke made a commitment, and in the whole history of the 20th century, the change we're about to celebrate is rivaled by only two others for its impact on what Duke has become. Without the move to Durham from Randolph County in 1892, this school would have been nowhere and would probably have failed. Without the transformational gift from James B. Duke in 1924, we would still be a distinguished regional liberal arts college, and without the repeal of racial exclusion policies, this would not be the place where the brightest minds come from every origin to deepen and expand our knowledge of our world. Let's be proud of Duke's remarkable progress, and let's be resolved to speed this progress on.
And I'd like to take this time to ask all of the individuals that have joined the division since our last fall kickoff who will continue what was shared in the video to please come up here so that we can meet you and you can introduce yourself. I already told them in advance though, y'all. Come on. You can enter this way and then you'll exit to my left. You can say your name and what area you're in. Your row. Hi. No, you can start.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jerica Washington, and I work in UCAE on the student involvement team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Campbell. I'm the new RC, Residence Coordinator for West Campus in Kroll and Wanamaker.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Creamer, and I'm the new RC on East Campus for Neighborhood 4.
Good morning. My name is Annette Moore, and I'm Program Coordinator at the International House.
Good morning. My name is Sang-hee Jung, Program Coordinator at International House.
Hi, my name is Kevin Erickson, Residence Coordinator, Central Campus.
Good morning. I'm Maddie Jothi Murray Gason, and I'm the Program Coordinator with New Student Programs.
Good morning. My name is Tim Dunlap, and I'm the new Maintenance Supervisor for East Campus. Thank you.
My name is Tyler Veger. I'm the new residence coordinator for Craven on West.
Good morning. I'm Marquetta Williams, and I'm a psychology intern at CAPS.
Good morning. I'm Fatima Wasem, and I'm the second psychology intern at the CAPS. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Heather Patterson-Meyer, and I am the third psychology doctoral intern at CAPS.
Oh, hey, I'm Sarah Snyder, and I'm the program support coordinator in the Career Center.
Hello, my name is Nick Antonici. I'm the assistant director for the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity.
Hi, I'm Jen Handel, and I am the program coordinator over at Jewish Life at Duke.
Good morning, my name is Tanya Norris, and I am the office coordinator for the Women's Center on the West Campus.
Hi, I'm Samantha Blatt, and I work in Conference and Event Services.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Madriaga. I'm an assistant manager at Conference and Event Services.
Good morning. I'm Christine Mello at CAPS. I'm a staff assistant.
Hi, I'm Katie Smith, and I'm an assistant director in the Career Center.
Hi, I'm John Vaughn. I'm the new director at Student Health Services.
Good morning. My name's Doug Berkey. I'm the administrative coordinator with the Career Center, and I've been on the job now, about 2.5 hours.
Good morning. I'm Kate Paluski. I'm a dietitian at Student Health.
Good morning. I'm Lauren Armitage. I'm the ticketing operations manager in the box office.
Good morning. My name's Leanne Waring, and I am an assistant director at the Career Center.
Good morning, I'm Jess Shake. I'm the Audience Services Coordinator for the Duke University box office.
Good morning, I'm Mary Miller, and I work in the UCAE Business and Finance office.
Good morning, I'm Rosalind Banks, and I work in the UCAE Business and Finance office.
Hello, my name is Byron Turner. I work in the Center for Multicultural Affairs.
Good morning, my name is Kenneth Supernaut, and I work in the Housing Assignments Office as a staff assistant.
Good morning, I'm Karima Atkinson. I am an assistant housekeeping manager for HDRL Housekeeping Operations.
Hi, I'm Ann Allen. I'm the Visitor Relations Supervisor for the Information Desk in the Bryan Center and the box office.
Good morning, I'm Joe Crozier. I'm a graduate of this fine institution, a former Cameron Crazy, and a new psychiatrist at CAPS. Thanks.
Welcome to all of our new colleagues. And now we will have our address from Dr. Larry Mineta.
Wow. That was just one, among the best parts of all that is just seeing the diversity reflected in so many different ways, not only just in terms of the composition of our staffs, which makes me incredibly proud, but for all of us to actually see the wide variety of roles and functions and the ways in which we serve students, faculty, staff, everyone through the tremendous different operations that make up student affairs. It's sort of vivid when we have this display of all the folks who've just come before us. And I want to just join with all of the veterans here, the seasoned people, otherwise known as old, in welcoming us, so many new people. I'm reminded that when I first started here 12 years ago, we would have a welcome luncheon for all the newly hired staff at my house. That ended when one year there were about 50 people, and my house doesn't hold 50 people. So it's great to have all of you, and I look forward to getting to know those of you who I haven't already met, and to welcoming you to this terrific division. I know some of you have been here for months already, but there's something to learn every day here. This is not as intimate a kickoff as we've had, and the fact that we're here is already indicative of the what we face over the next few years as we're in this great space hunt. You know, the new mantra for Duke will be the shortest distance between any 2 points is under construction. Any of you who've tried to traverse Duke University Road, Main Street, Campus Drive, anywhere else knows you just come in every morning and wonder what road will be open, what road won't be. If you haven't been down Tower View and seen what I've been euphemistically calling Lake Trask go in, the new water retention facility, which will actually be this really amazing pond with trails around it and all. At least in my time here, I've never seen this much construction, demolition going on all at once. And it heralds a great future, but it also heralds some challenging time ahead. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I just want to begin by thanking Stephanie and everyone, Alcina, others who've worked hard to put this kickoff together. For many of us in the Vice President's office, this is the kick-out day. HDRL has sent us our eviction notice this morning and told us to move out or move on. So we're also in the midst of our relocation. I know Caroline is over at the Bryan Center with the furniture that have arrived, and the IT staff are probably ready to bolt over to FEW to unplug us and move us in. So it's a chaotic day, but it's student affairs. What else would there be but chaotic days? This has been a summer unlike any. I'm going to recap some of the things that have happened, and many of us who've been involved know the Office of the Vice President has spent the summer in Camp FEW. We have enjoyed our camp experience, but only to a point. But we want to thank our colleagues in HDRL for welcoming us and accommodating us there as our offices have been under construction in the Bryan Center. The event pavilion went up in record time, on time and on budget. Those are words that we always love to hear. And I know only a handful of people may have strolled in, but on behalf of Rick and Robert and the Duke Dining folks and folks who've really been, I was going to say burning the candle at both ends, but it's been burning ovens at all ends. It's been an amazing accomplishment, and it is absolutely a beautiful building and will be a tremendous asset for the Duke community for years to come. I have no doubt that the dining experience over the next 2 years will blow people away, and that's prelude to what is yet to come in the West Union project. So we look forward to welcoming you all. We acquired the building about a week ago. The CO was approved, and the staff are in there already testing all kinds of cooking, and I think you'll all be just really wonderfully pleased when you have a chance to be in there, and certainly in a couple of years when we are able to revert it to its intended use as an event center. Career Center will be thrilled with career fair opportunities and international experiences and wonderful dinners, and it just has it'll fill a void that we've always had as just a great big event kind of facility that we've always needed. The Bryan Center transformation is nothing short of remarkable. I've had several people walk through with me and say, wait, I had no clue. I thought this was just a bit of repair. And it is far more than that. And there's a few things yet to come, but the relocation of the Fraternity Sorority Life office and all of the UCE offices and its affiliates throughout the middle and lower levels. And then today, officially, the opening of the Office of the Vice President Suite and the new Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity space is just breathtaking. And I'm sure that when the students come back and roam through, and their eyes will be quite wide open. The bookstore is terrific and bright and light, and I had the opportunity to walk the president through the Bryan Center on Thursday, and he was just shocked at how well it looked and commented on how the lobby was not quite as well lit, and that was good because we needed him to say, it'd be nice if we just added a little more lighting there. So hopefully we'll be able to achieve just a few more aspects to the transformation that's in there. There are other projects. The construction of the new loop goes on and will go on to the very end of the month probably, but will also be quite beautiful in the Red Mango space for all of you with a frozen yogurt addiction. I'm sure that you'll come to appreciate that there. So lots of wonderful outcomes there, and the transformation of the Bryan Center, the event pavilion, the plaza expansion, I think will just provide wonderful new assets for the community and in particular for the students when they return. There's more to come. Chandra and I were poking our head through the back door into the Mary Lou Williams Center. A lot of work yet there to go, but that too will be a wonderful new location, and we've got a couple of weeks left there, but it I think will be also incredibly well appreciated. And we're going to have a lot of celebratory events. I think we've got August 26th, there's an open house for the Bryan Center and the event pavilion, so make note of that and roam through, and I think you'll enjoy the opportunity to be in there and see that. The Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity's formal opening will take place during homecoming weekend, and we hope to welcome back many, many of our alumni, both to Pride Day, which will take place here in Durham at on the same weekend, homecoming events, and the welcoming grand opening of the SGD Center. I'm going to get that acronym worked out, which is more wonderful dates. And then the October 4th to 6th weekend will be the finale of the 50th anniversary of African American students at Duke. And we're hoping, schedule permitting and the Mary Lou's completion permitting, to also use that weekend for a grand reopening of the new Mary Lou Williams Center. So we'll get those dates out to you, over the next few weeks. But just to herald the number of ceremonial and celebratory opportunities yet to come. Many of you may have seen the pictures of Baldwin Auditorium that have been posted on Facebook and Duke Today. I had a chance to walk in, and that too is just breathtaking, and I don't know that any of us imagined that Baldwin could look as beautiful as it is. It's sort of been fun all this week because there have been different performers that have been invited in to do their performances of different kinds of instruments and solos and quartets and orchestras as the auditorium has been adjusted to accommodate the different kinds of programs. And there are some very high-tech movement of sound baffles and curtains and all that are in there, so that at the push of a button, it's designed for a symphony. You push another button, it's designed for a single guitarist. And it's just really, the sound system is just unbelievable. Rick gave me a wonderful tour of Gilbert Adams on Friday, and if you're on East Campus and you have a chance to be in there, I think that's just been a wonderful job, and I know that the East Campus staff will be thrilled to have the facility, the residents there have no idea what's coming and how beautiful that has come out. And but for the absence of air conditioning in the rooms, it's about as good a building as we could get, but maybe that'll come one day as well. So a lot of things have happened this summer, and there are many, many, many people to thank, and still a mad rush to the finish to have everything ready for us over the next 2 weeks. So stay tuned, check the traffic patterns as you come into campus and see what else. There's more coming, so speaking of construction, what's ahead? The biggest project remains the West Union project. Contrary to anything you may be reading, we have reached full agreement with the architects on the design concepts. We have approval from the trustees. We are full speed ahead on West Union. Very soon, next week, the building will be fully vacated. The last remaining West Union tenants, and the Mary Lou will be sort of the last out. And once that's happened, the next phase will be the hazardous materials abatement. I know you've all been waiting for the hazmat part of this, but there'll be a protracted period of just literally sealing the building and clearing out asbestos and things that, in buildings built in the 20s and 30s are going to have. And then sort of later in the fall, one of the world's largest cranes will show up in the middle of the Kilgo quad area outside of there with a boom large enough to reach out to the front of the chapel quad area. So we're talking big to begin the demolition process. So there will be an interesting year of, chopping out the core of the West Union building. And so those of you who are like big truck fans and like, watching big chunks of concrete getting eaten by these monster machines, bring your children. This is the kind of thing that, kids like. So that's probably mostly starting in the November and on period. And we'll try to keep you up to date on what's going to happen there. And that's going to go on for the next couple of years. So that project will tie us up. We will not lose access to the plaza through the triple arches till probably late October. But sometime late October, that will be closed off, and so students will have to circle around either by the chapel or up by the other end of Kilgo arches to come through. You'll also notice that we're doing some work right outside of the Kilgo area to sort of prepare for the pathway for students who would come through the quad that way. So if you wonder what all those projects are. There will be several very complicated enabling projects. Who knew that West Union, when it was built, was sort of the ground zero for every utility line and every pipe and everything that comes to the university? So in shutting West Union, you shut the chiller system, you shut the electrical, so over the next 6 weeks, out here in the court, there'll also be pretty extensive work to create some circuitous alternate paths for all the utilities. So before you can actually terminate power and utilities into West Union, all those pipes have to be relocated. New water lines are going to have to come through the Kilgo courtyard area. So again, shortest distance between any 2 points is under construction. So just remember that as we go along. It was sort of inspiring, and I hadn't realized that Dr. Martin Luther King had spoken here 50 years ago next year. If I saw accurately on the video, it was 1964 that he spoke here in Page Auditorium. So it's also fitting that next year, on that 50th anniversary, it appears we'll be closing Page and beginning the renovation of Page Auditorium. So more about that later, but just to add to our space complications with the Von Cannons not in service any longer, and the event pavilion not ready for the event center, and West Union still under construction, and well, let's close Page too. I can already see the UCA scheduling folks climbing under the chairs trying to figure out. But we will survive. We'll be creative, and we'll find spaces. But it is I think a wonderful thing that we're actually able to make this progress and get the renovations going as soon as we can. A couple of other projects that are student affairs related. I'm very pleased, and I know if Dean Sue is dealing with the architects actually right now. We were able to secure permission. Oh, Dean Sue's back here. I see Dean Sue in the back, and I want to give her a shout out for her leadership of this project in particular. But we are moving ahead with the design and hopefully soon construction of a new integrated health building. We have secured a site right up at the top of Union Drive at the intersection of Tower View and Card Lot. We have five architects, Sue, is that right? 5 architects who are coming in this week who have been invited to bid on the design of this project. And so we will be having interviews with all the architects over the next couple of weeks and selecting one who will be the lead architect for that project. So we're looking forward to moving forward with a new home for student health, CAPS, wellness community, case management, all of the ways in which we serve students' health and their well-being. And we're working on the budget to be able to finance it, and our goal is to have that all resolved by the time the architects have completed the design so that we can move as quickly and aggressively as we can on the construction of that new building. So lots of progress. I mean, I think it's really, for me, extraordinarily exciting to see this much progress being made. And though it will come with its inevitable challenges, as the shortest distance between any 2 points is under construction. Very good. And finally, we hope to continue to work in the housing renovations. Gilbert Adams this year was a great start. The Southgate roof alone, Rick tells me, was 7 figures. I remember the days $1 million used to be real money. We're still looking for the bigger dollars to do the Kroll and Craven renovations and other essential renovations, but I'm very pleased with the progress we've been able to make with the resources that we're able to generate ourselves, and undoubtedly will continue over the next few years picking off the projects that we can afford, even as we wait for some of the larger sums of money to come in to be able to support that. Our world is not limited to construction. I know that many of you know that. There are many other things happening. We are continuing our attention to many national issues that come to affect us. Not a day goes by when the Title IX challenges of sexual misconduct, sexual assault, rape are not in the paper. And we have been and continue to be vigilant. Our Gender Violence Task Force, which I co-chair with Sheila Broderick, I think has tried to be ahead of the game. And even yesterday, I spent 2 hours on the phone with people from Yale who are trying to understand how we developed a mandatory reporting system relatively quickly. Our recent efforts with our adjustment to sanctions, and I'm pretty proud of the work we've done. And having said that, I know that we've just barely scratched the surface in our efforts to address gender violence, and so we have much more to do, but we will be vigilant and continue to explore every means we can to address the issue. That is but one of many regulatory and compliance and risk issues that we face. This is the year that we are obligated to do a risk audit and presentation to the trustees. Many of you here participated in an exercise we did a few months ago to try to identify our greatest sort of student-associated risk. These are risks both to students and by students, and we'll be sharing with you the results of that over the next few weeks. We started with a list of about 35 items, have whittled it down. I think Tim's last effort had it to 14, and I spent the weekend whittling it to 10. So we'll have a top 10 list that represents what we see as the greatest risks that we need to mitigate and focus on, and they'll be part of our strategic thinking for this year. If I just say the term Global Duke, it means very different things to very different people, but as we look ahead to this year, it's hard not to sort of speak about the Duke presence around the world in many different ways. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to be back out in Kunshan to visit our campus outside of Shanghai, and it hit me on that trip that this is now real, that we really are looking at welcoming a first class out there a year from now, which means we're really launching the recruitment efforts now. Several of us have been working with the DKU staff as well as local Durham Duke staff, focusing on what will be the student life experience there and developing things like student handbooks and trying to figure out what the residential experience will be like in staffing models. And I'm hoping that we'll have an opportunity for others of you to be involved in that campus. One day I would very much like to have a number of us be able to be there and visit it and welcome the DKU community here. We'll have teleconferencing capacity, but it is a pretty remarkable opportunity to experience the development of an entirely new university in partnership in China. The Global Duke experience, though, extends well beyond as the GEO office continues to identify new locations around the world for study away programs. Duke Engage continues to expand. Our Global Health Institute is doing things around the world. And so for us in Student Affairs, the delivery of our services 24/7 across the world is also a pretty transformative part of our work. And I think it will require for many of us really thinking very differently about how we deliver many of these services, how many of them can be portable, mobile to wherever the students may be, even as we also welcome increasing numbers of international students from a far more diverse array of countries to campus. So I think this heralds also some very exciting but challenging work for us. And we've already seen this summer, we've had several issues and incidents around the world involving Duke students where we've had to figure out how we were going to accommodate their needs, address their challenges, bring them care, and then continue that care when they get back here to campus. So very important part of the work ahead. We continue to see mental health challenges. It was a delight to see the new CAPS interns. They are clueless as to what's ahead for them. It's the mental health challenges that we see on all of our campuses in America and around the world, and I would say that in China I saw some of the same challenges. Just really signaled sort of the changing environment in terms of our campus, in terms of campus expectations. The development in the last few years of threat assessment teams, of expansion of our students of concern, and the introduction of case management. We will this summer hire our 3rd case manager. If you had told me 5 years ago, the whole idea of getting applause for a 3rd case manager is bizarre when you think about it. But it is a sign of the times, and we are grateful to the Duke Endowment. This 3rd case management position is fully funded by the Duke Endowment. And is a recognition of that need. It came out of a conversation with the other 3 Duke Endowment-supported colleges and universities, Furman, Johnson C. Smith, and Davidson, and their need for additional case management support. And they didn't want to leave us out, so they actually called Sue and me one day and said, "Can you use one too? Because we'd hate not to fund one at Duke if we're going to fund the other 3. And I think it took Sue about 10 seconds to go, "No problem." And already, as with the addition of Amy and Christine, in about 10 seconds after you have your 3rd, you wonder how you survived without it. But we're very grateful to the Duke Endowment and very happy to have the additional support. And in particular, it's going to allow us to serve the graduate and professional student population even more. We had a lot of folks from the Career Center up here. There's a bit of a sea change in terms of staff there, a number of new positions. I'm quite mindful to the degree to which the national conversation about the value of higher education continues to press job attainment and employment as the ultimate measure of success. I think we do a better job of defining success more broadly than that in terms of students achieving their dreams, whether their dreams involve something gap when they graduate, or graduate education, or the first of the 5 jobs they'll have in the first 5 years. But employment is important, and we live in a world in which at least one of the key measures of success is the degree to which students are able to be employed after graduation. And that will continue to press us as we explore how we assess our own achievements as a division. It was fun to start with Tim and technology, and if we gave Tim another 2 hours, he could talk, I think, with his team at length about the technological challenges that we'll be facing in the coming year and the years ahead. At the President's Retreat next week, I've been asked to do a brief presentation on the perils of instantaneous communications. What are we seeing in terms of the ways in which students can get themselves in trouble by using technology and other means to perhaps express something that they may regret later expressing? I had no problem finding examples. I emailed a few people, and I've got voluminous emails with examples of that. And so the world of social media continues to provide wonderful opportunities. I did tweet, in case you're wondering, the beginning of our kickoff. So if you look, if any of you are following me, you'll see the photo of yourselves on my Twitter account. But it comes with lots of interesting challenges as well for us, and how we educate our students to live in this world of transparency, and maybe don't tell us when you go into the bathroom. I really don't need to know that. But there are many other technological issues, I think some very exciting. You will shortly see some new digital signage around the Bryan Center and event and pavilion and another complex with some touch screen capacity. You'll see lots more happening in online service delivery. It's not clear to us how the MOOCs and the growth of online coursework will affect us, but increasing numbers of students will be matriculants of Duke, but not at Duke, and yet they are our students, and that will generate some very interesting conversation as to how we actually serve students who are matriculants but online, and what happens when some of the online behaviors cross into less civil kinds of discourse, and what role will we play. apps, and more apps. There's hardly a day now that we're not, I think, attacked by someone who's developed the next best and greatest and wants access to all of our student eyes for the distribution of it. So that's out there. And then now people are going to faint now. So, Epic, Maestro, Student Health, COM, RMS, HDRL, COM, Titanium, Experience, 25 Live, Ungerbach. How many more could I have named, Tim, Cassie? Lots. These are just a handful of the enterprise level applications that we have in the division. The student health folks deserve all your kindness for the last 3 weeks of conversion of the medical management system to what the health system refers to as Maestro. The actual application is called Epic, and it is far from epic. A lot of, I'd say bugs, but they're really more like dinosaurs to be worked out. But many of these other applications are beginning to age out, and we're beginning to look at what's the next wave of these enterprise level applications. And several characteristics about them. One, they're very expensive. Two, they are incredibly difficult when you have to make a big change because you've tied in lots of databases. And so I think that's another big part of what the technological world ahead for all of us. I mentioned graduate and professional students. I think our fastest growing market for student need are in the graduate and professional student market. And I think those of you who are in our cultural centers or in any of our service support areas are probably seeing increasing numbers. The graduate student population is where we've seen the greatest growth at Duke over the last several years. Probably 1,000 more master's students than the last 5 years or so. And they've just sort of dripped in, so we didn't notice it. And then you look up and there are 1,000 more people all asking for the same kind of service and support. And the good news is they are asking for it. Years ago, you would not have seen graduate students willing to step up and ooh, you all right, Cass? You would not have, she's about to unplug me, I think. You would not have seen as much demand for service from graduate and professional students. And I think it's a wonderful thing that we are seeing it, but it will also, I think, transform in many ways the work that we do and put us in a situation of trying to ensure that we have the adequate resources to support them. I love food, and I think if you're watching any of the news, the discussions on gluten-free, nut allergies, kosher and halal, vegan, those vegan crazy people. The whole idea of food services over the next year or so is in particular as we accommodate the closing of West Union, try to figure out where we'll feed everybody, but also just the transformative nature of food and what folks' food expectations are. We'll keep Robert and Barbara and many other people quite busy. I just shared some interesting articles about the nature of various, sort of food expectations and disordered eating and many other issues that are floating around that I think will affect all of us. And so plenty more. That's just a tip of the iceberg of the things that we're doing. And finally, I think I'm very much looking forward to continuing to advance our strategic plan. We'll hear more about that over the next few weeks as we now bring closure to the first set of efforts to compile the nature of the plan and the first set of objectives. But this is a living document, and we'll be regularly talking about our progress with each of our objectives. I want to end, though, with just a reminder of the values in our strategic plan, because I think it's hard to remember, although we only have 2 goals in the plan, multiple objectives, I think nothing is more important as we look forward than what the 5 values are, because the values will express, I hope, what we stand for. And if folks ask you, what is student affairs about, sometimes it's hard because you can talk about it through the lens of any of our 30 operations. And when you do that, it just feels like we're a compilation of a bunch of things that collectively may serve many people, but it's hard to get your arms around what we stand for. And I think what I'm most proud of in our strategic planning effort is the articulation of a set of values that we can all use in response to what do we stand for, what do we mean. So as a reminder, our first value is one of collaboration. There are 2 quotes I want to read. One is an African proverb I found that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And the second is from the sage of American baseball, Casey Stengel, who said, "Getting good players is easy. Getting them to play together is the hard part." So I really am looking forward to this year in which we really advance our collaborative efforts. I think there's an opportunity here for us to partner with each other across the division and to develop partnerships that have not yet been realized. I think there are connections that are quite opportunistic and will advance our mission, and that requires you to discover each other. You saw lots of names come across the stage, and many of you know many others here, and the best thing you can do over lunch today is go figure out who you're going to play with. Lunch is the first of our sandboxes this year. And don't limit your collaborative efforts to people within student affairs. I'm particularly proud of how well we play with others throughout the university, and whether it's with the facilities people, with our faculty colleagues, with academic support staff, with the many others in the graduate and professional schools. See this as your opportunity to say, with whom am I going to connect this year, whom I might not have otherwise met, and where can I find a partnership that will serve our joint purposes more effectively than if we just did it alone. I often say when I speak to graduate students, I say that consultation is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. When you seek others out, that's evidence of strength. The second is cultural competency, and I want to read two other quotes. This is from Manaz Afkhami, an Iranian-American human rights activist, and she says, "We have the ability to achieve, if we master the necessary goodwill, a common global society blessed with a shared culture of peace that is nourished by the ethnic, national, and local diversities that enrich our lives." And Whitney Young, American civil rights leader and former executive director of the National Urban League, said, we may have come over on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. So what are my messages around our cultural competencies? First, we need to look inward. Let's know ourselves. Let's know let's be familiar with our own cultural backgrounds. Let's figure out what our own prejudices may be. Let's figure out where we can address those, and let's figure out where we have gaps in our own information about others. This is a remarkable opportunity. Many of us will never again have a chance to coexist with so many different perspectives here, so many different ethnicities and racial perspectives, sexual orientations, gender. I come to work every day and I just feel so blessed to be able to traverse the campus and learn from someone. And I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't do that. But we also need to be deliberate about where we fill in. If I were 10 years younger, I would be learning another language. I'm not sure I can start today, but every morning I sort of think, maybe this is the year. There's an opportunity to learn something about culture and geography, and then I think there's the opportunity to share that in whatever way is most meaningful and most opportune. We have probably as diverse a student population as I've ever worked with in my 40 years, and this is the place where the kinds of challenges that we're seeing nationally that are very hard to resolve around the world, where inroads can be made. And it may be a small contribution that we can make, but I'm a full believer in that butterfly theory. And if we can get just a little breath of air moving here in terms of cultural engagement and appreciation of difference and all the language that reflects our commitment to diversity, I think we can make a huge difference, and I hope we will. The third value on our list is creative thinking. Linus Pauling said, "The best way to good ideas is to have a lot of ideas." And Albert Einstein said, "Creativity is contagious, pass it on." I have simple messages around the issue of creative thinking. The first is fail. If you don't fail, you haven't tried hard enough. And I'd like to think we're an organization that will respect failure to the extent that it was thoughtful failure, not negligent failure, not intentionally harmful failure. But a good idea that didn't work is worth a reward. And through failure, I think we just become far better than we've ever been. So embrace change, but pick your moments, pick your battles. Surround yourself with others who will press you to think creatively. Our fourth value is to care for others and ourselves. Leo Buscaglia, someone who I remembered in graduate school, just adoring his tapes, said, "Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around." And Ruth Smeltzer, a writer in the 1800s to 1950s, said, "You've not lived a perfect day, even though you've earned your money, unless you've done something for someone who cannot repay you." The whole idea of caring for ourselves and others, I would start with ourselves first. And I think we have many here who really are devoted to our own health and wellness. I don't know that we do as good a job in the division as we can in encouraging personal health and wellness. I hope we will do more. I hope we will really be attentive to our own workplace and home life situations and the characteristics and conditions that allow us to thrive as people. I don't think we can be helpful to others until we're helpful to ourselves. I think we have to be attentive to our own risks and the risks that our community faces. And then the cliche, but I think still a viable term, which is pay it forward. Let's do the best we can. And finally, our final value is respectful and responsive service. Brian Tracy said, "Successful people are always looking for opportunities to help others. Unsuccessful people are always asking, what's in it for me?" And Albert Schweitzer said, "I don't know what destiny will be. I don't know what your destiny will be. But one thing I know, the ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve." I don't find it offensive to say we serve people. I think customer service is very much a part of what we do. The people we serve are clients, their patients, their students, their parents, their alumni, their faculty, their guests, their visitors, their campers. We did the sum total of whom we touch by just everybody in this room. It covers an amazing amount of people. And as much as we provide incredible support and services on a daily level, the interaction we have with every one of those people and the form that takes characterizes us as much as anything else we do. And I'm so proud of the staff in dining services who deliver the food. And it was just really, again, remarkable seeing for our first African American students how much the dining staff and the housekeeping staff were so meaningful to them. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge and thank the folks who are right there on the front line, cleaning and cooking and serving. They're as much student affairs and the values that we stand for as any one of us who have any other roles within the division. So I want to give a tremendous shout out to all the folks who really are of service as their predominant role, and also remind us that we're all of service at some point in the ways that we care for the communities that we stand for. So those are our 5 values. I hope we'll repeat them often. I hope you'll find an opportunity to find use of them. Every year I say this will be a particularly challenging and interesting year. I'll say it again and close by saying buckle your seatbelts. So thank you for everyone.